Reborn on the day of adoption at the orphanage. Yvonne watched as Lynn threw herself into the arms of the wealthiest couple in the city. "Mommy. Daddy. Please take me with you. I'll be good. I promise." I smiled coldly. She was trying to steal my chance to be adopted by the Johnsons. Her face twisted with greed and contempt when she glanced at me. But what she didn't know was this: the Johnsons had a taste for torture. Their garden probably already contained a dozen small bodies buried beneath the rose bushes. In my previous life, after the Johnsons took me home, Lynn was adopted by an ordinary middle-class family. She'd later complain endlessly, "Vonnie, my foster parents are so poor and sexist. They only adopted a girl because it's cheaper. Now they want to marry me off to some 50-year-old creep for his retirement fund. Can't you ask your parents to adopt me too? I'll die if I stay here." Her words dripped with misery. Yet her clothes were always clean and mended. Her school lunches neatly packed. Not luxurious, but clearly cared for, unlike the hellish existence I endured. I'd refused gently then. "Linny, that household isn't for you." Little did I know she'd grow to hate me for it. Years later, during my charity visit to the orphanage, she detonated a gas canister. The explosion took everyone, including me. Even in death, I couldn't understand. As children, I'd given her my food when she was too slow during mealtimes. When bullies ripped her quilt to shreds during winter, I'd wrapped her in mine. Decades of kindness. Yet one refusal turned her into a vengeful demon who'd rather burn the world than see me happy. But fate granted me another chance. Blinking awake, I found myself back in the orphanage's drafty hall. There stood 12-year-old Lynn, already clutching at Susan's designer skirt. "Please. Mommy. The orphanage starves us. Only you can save me. Look how skinny I am. I'll die if left here." The scene matched my memories perfectly: peeling walls, the scent of disinfectant, even the throbbing pain where I'd pinched my thigh. Yes, this was definitely the day the Johnsons came adopting. Last time, they'd chosen quiet, withdrawn me from the corner despite Lynn's dramatic performance. How bitterly ironic that her coveted privileged life meant being locked in a soundproof basement, enduring daily lessons with Henry's collection of antique blades. Meanwhile, her miserable middle-class existence involved school clubs, birthday cakes, and parents who actually attended PTA meetings. Watching Lynn simper before our future tormentors, I almost laughed aloud. If she wanted this golden ticket to hell so badly, who was I to deny her? I stayed silent in my corner. Right on schedule, Susan and Henry approached with their practiced benevolent smiles. "Would you like to come home with us, sweetheart?" Meeting their hungry gazes, I smiled back. "I'd rather stay. But she's been dying to go with you." My finger pointed straight at Lynn, whose face lit up with triumph. Let her enjoy being the Johnsons' precious doll this time. I'd be too busy surviving to stop her anyway. Ignoring Lynn's jealous gaze, I walked over and pushed her forward. Linny was quite sensible. But unfortunately, no one had ever wanted to adopt her. Her frail body and slightly damaged vocal cords made her unable to speak loudly for extended periods, which became reasons for rejection. "Aunt Susan, Uncle Henry, if you truly want to do good, please take her." Susan and Henry exchanged glances, their eyes gleaming with excitement. "Really? Her speech is actually impaired?" Though surprised by my lie, Lynn wasn't foolish. Seeing the couple's reaction, she immediately grasped that her vocal defect became an advantage. She deliberately lowered her voice, tears glistening. "Mom, Dad, everyone else hated me. But you're different. You're my salvation." Susan's smile widened uncontrollably. Henry stepped forward to grasp Lynn's hand. "This child suffered too much. Let's adopt her." Lynn's ecstatic grin nearly split her face. "Thank you, Mom, Dad. I'll make you proud." After completing adoption formalities, she strutted out of the orphanage with triumph, climbing into the luxury car with chin raised. Through the rearview mirror, her radiant smile twisted into a sneer directed at me. I chuckled. Little did she know this wasn't her golden ticket, but descent into hell. Who'd suspect the philanthropic Johnsons, famous for charity galas and orphan sponsorships, were actually sadists? They'd already secretly tortured numerous powerless victims to death. Now they'd upgraded their game by selecting prey directly from orphanages. In my previous life, they'd chosen me precisely because my quiet nature suggested I'd endure abuse silently. This time, Lynn's congenital vocal limitations made her the perfect replacement, their new toy that wouldn't scream too much. 4 days. I waited at the orphanage until she appeared, the woman who'd adopted Lynn last lifetime. One afternoon, Margaret finally arrived, immediately pointing at my malnourished, scar-covered frame. Director, this one. My son's financially independent now, and I want to use my savings for good. Her warm smile felt embraceable. Sweetheart, will you come with me? I'll treat you as my own daughter. Last life, Lynn had tearfully complained to me about Maggie's mistreatment and plans to trade her for dowry, begging me to rescue her into the Johnson mansion. Back then, I'd spent my allowance hiring investigators to help only to discover Lynn's lies. To that ingrate, any family without wealth was worthless. But what Lynn despised became my salvation. Yes, Aunt Maggie, I'll go with you. She held my hand through the paperwork, leading me to a modest 2-bedroom apartment. The cozy space smelled of lemon polish, sunlight filtering through yellow curtains. A plain-looking young man with gentle eyes approached. Mom called about you. You're Yvonne? I'm Ethan, your brother. They enthusiastically brought me fruits and snacks, showing off the new clothes they'd just bought for me. Sis, our place is small. You'll take my room from now on. I'll sleep on the couch, Ethan said gently, the supposedly harsh brother Lynn had described, now surrendering his space to me. When I kept refusing, Maggie immediately packed his belongings. You're a girl. As your brother, he should make way. Besides, her voice softened, you've had it tough before. We're not wealthy, but we'll give you the best we can afford. Ethan excitedly showed off his handmade figurines, pressing a pristine new one into my palm. When Mom said we'd adopt a sister, I stayed up nights making this. Hope you like it. Their affection felt tangible, real enough to make me close my eyes tightly, clutching the figurine. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Ethan. At dusk, Steve returned home. Seeing me, the family pillar became flustered with joy. Great. Just great. I finally have a daughter. Yvonne, this is your home now. Ask for anything you need. We're not rich, but we'll move mountains for you. Calloused hands carefully revealed a crystal hairpin. It's the best I could afford on my salary. Hope it makes you happy. My eyes stung as I shook my head. Thank you, Dad. But this is too expensive. Maggie clipped it into my hair. Stop overthinking. What's mine is yours. What should Mom cook for dinner tonight? I couldn't comprehend it, this warmth Lynn had thrown away. After a week, my parents enrolled me in school. Your aunt teaches at a prestigious academy, Steve explained. We'll get you in as a special admission student. I wasn't surprised. Last lifetime, Lynn had attended the same school through identical arrangements. On orientation day, I encountered my old friend. Lynn preened under classmates' attention, her designer bag gleaming. Oh yes. The Johnsons adopted me. Our pool starts at 500 square meters. Honestly, our backyard's bigger than this campus. Can't imagine why they sent me here, as if we need better education when we're already loaded. Her gaze locked onto mine in the crowd, lips curling maliciously as she sauntered over. Long time no see. Yvonne. Heard the Millers took you in? How's that cramped two-bedroom treating you? Guess I just got luckier. I froze. She'd been adopted earlier, how did she know Steve's name? Our apartment size? Shouldn't she be busy manipulating the Johnsons instead of investigating me? Unless. Meeting her sneer. I countered. Our home's perfectly fine. My parents make good money. And Ethan's heading to an Ivy League. Our future's bright. Cut the crap. Do you really think the Johnsons adopted you without my recommendation? Everything you have now. I handed to you. She sneered. Her contempt undisguised. You think I don't know? Maggie is just a housewife doing occasional hotel cleaning gigs, barely making $300 a month. Steve works factory assembly lines for maybe $800 monthly. Who are you trying to fool? As for Ethan, her laugh dripped with malice. So he got into Tsinghua. Big deal. With his $1,400 monthly salary. He'll never climb out of poverty. Meanwhile, I'm already miles ahead, no rat race for me. My inheritance awaits. Her knowledge chilled me. This wasn't casual gossip, she knew details only someone reborn could possess. Lynn had clearly retained memories from our past life. Excitement coiled in my chest. Punishing this timeline's Lynn would be trivial. No. I wanted her fully conscious. Every cell screaming as I dismantled the luxury she'd killed for. Let her watch her precious wealth become quicksand. You're right. I smiled. Watching her preen. Destiny favors you. My mind raced, this summer. The Johnsons' charitable facade would crack now that media scrutiny faded. Lynn would soon learn golden cages have teeth. She shoved past me into the classroom. Her new status as the Johnson heiress made me radioactive. Former friends kept distance, even neutrals avoided me. Solitude suited my college prep goals, until Lynn escalated. What's the point of studying? She cornered me during lunch. Voice dripping faux concern. My pocket change exceeds your family's lifetime earnings. Know your place. Yvonne. Her cronies cackled as she snatched my hairpin, grinding the faux crystals under her designer sneaker. Pathetic. My dog wouldn't wear this trash. The shattered fragments glinted like accusation. Something snapped, my palm connected with her cheek in a crack that silenced the room. You dare, Lynn lunged. But I caught her wrist. Leaning close enough to smell her bergamot perfume. Scream louder. I whispered. Let everyone see the real you before the Johnsons do. Her pupils dilated with primal fear, the look I'd waited lifetimes to see. Don't provoke me. Or I'll tell your adoptive parents the truth about your biological parents' deaths. Do you think you'll still get to live comfortably in their home after that? Lynn's pupils constricted violently. Disbelief flashing across her eyes before she gritted her teeth and fell silent. Eventually, she lowered her raised hand, visibly swallowing her humiliation yet forced to endure it. I watched her coldly. Replace what you broke. And apologize to me. She rubbed her palms, took several deep breaths, and finally muttered through clenched teeth, I'm sorry. The classmates gasped louder. Without acknowledging anyone, she stormed back to her seat with a pallid face. Though she pretended composure, I saw the turbulent mix of dread and resentment in her eyes. Oh, she thought she'd covered her tracks perfectly. Little did she know fate had documented every twist of her destiny. She wasn't born an orphan. When she was 7, a sensational news story swept the nation. A destitute girl from another city had been adopted by a wealthy family, transforming overnight into an envied heiress. Luxury items beyond ordinary girls' wildest dreams became her casual playthings. Lynn burned with jealousy. That's when she lit her first fire. She murdered her own parents to become an orphan. For years at the orphanage, her awaited opportunity never came. Now that she'd finally grasped this gilded life, how could she let it slip through her fingers like fleeting bubbles? I learned all this after my death. The real monster was her. Henry had treated her as his own flesh and blood. But her greed knew no bounds. As long as she clung to the Johnsons' fortune, this secret would forever chain her to my mercy. True to form, she replaced my hairpin and stayed subdued afterward. Her public apology made the classmates stop bullying me. I focused on studying while she basked in hollow flattery. I didn't care. The college entrance exams were approaching. Everything would change. On college application day, Lynn looked haggard, her eyes glacial yet tormented as she stared blankly at the form. I understood. Susan and Henry's sadistic urges were resurfacing. Beneath her clothes, countless needle marks, discreetly treated yet agonizing, must be burning reminders of her nightly ordeals. Today was June 25th. Susan's birthday. Their day of celebration. In my past life, they'd tortured me until I lay bedridden for a month after this date. Right now, the Johnsons were probably eagerly awaiting Lynn's return home. But she seemed to dread it too, fidgeting nervously until only we remained in the classroom. As I stood to leave, she called out hoarsely, "Yvonne, what did you mean that day? What do you actually know?" I smiled. Why ask when you already know? Keep your claws retracted, and I'll let this secret rot with me. Her returning smile looked painfully strained. I don't understand. Yvonne, aren't we good friends? Yes. I admit I got a bit carried away after being adopted by the wealthiest family. But I remember how kind you used to be to me. You wouldn't completely abandon me over something like this. Would you? These past few days, I've been reminiscing about our old friendship. Will you come home with me today? We can have a sleepover and stay best friends. Her insincere gaze almost made me laugh. She's clearly terrified of being abused at home tonight and wants to use me as a human shield. What she doesn't know is that Henry despises surprises. Without hesitation, I nodded. Sure. Following Lynn back to the mansion we'd lived in during our previous lives, I noted how the opulent rooms felt eerily hollow, radiating tomb-like chilliness. Henry and Susan's excited expressions darkened instantly upon seeing me with Lynn, though their enthusiastic smiles reappeared within seconds. Linny, you brought a friend. Perfect timing, today's your mother's birthday. Let's celebrate together. Lynn's smile twitched nervously, but she visibly relaxed. Okay. At dinner, I deliberately chattered loudly to deter any schemes. Uncle Henry. Aunt Susan. Lynn said you're rich. But I never imagined such grandeur. Though I'm curious, how come Lynn's health keeps deteriorating in this paradise? Dark circles. Constant pain. As her best friend, I'd have to recommend sending her back to the orphanage if this continues. Henry's eyes turned stormy while Susan's gaze sharpened. Their worst fear was outside suspicion. Both glared at Lynn, who dropped her chopsticks in terror. Yvonne, what nonsense are you spouting? I never complained about pain. I shrugged. You just said someone's been poking you with needles. This detail convinced the Johnsons completely, only Lynn could have disclosed such specifics. Facing their icy stares, Lynn panicked. Mom. Dad. I never said that. She's lying. The couple dismissed her protests with saccharine smiles. You must understand, dear, our Linny's orphanage trauma left her unstable. Pay no mind to her delusions. Playing the fool. I nodded earnestly. Of course. Everyone knows you're a city's most charitable family. After dramatically patting my full stomach, I turned to Lynn. About that sleepover, my parents and brother Ethan would call the police if I stayed out. Happy birthday, Mrs. Johnson. Have fun. As I left, I added cheerfully, Lynn, how could you accuse such wonderful parents? Do it again and I'll stop being your friend. Relieved by my apparent idiocy, the Johnsons politely escorted me out. That night, I slept soundly, unlike Lynn. Knowing Henry and Susan, needles and whips were mere appetizers. The real torture lay in endless suffering without escape. Surviving wouldn't bring freedom. Only worse torment. My accusations had ignited Henry's deepest fears and rage, darkness he'd unleash entirely on Lynn. True to form, the Johnsons soon produced a psychiatric report from their private hospital. Lynn now officially had severe schizophrenia. From that moment on, every word Lynn uttered was branded as falsehood. Later, she appeared genuinely devastated. Even during class reunions, she refused to speak to anyone. The slightest accidental contact would send her trembling for minutes. When asked what was wrong, she'd shriek hysterically, "What could possibly be wrong? I'm the Johnson family's adopted daughter. My life's 1,000 times better than any of yours." After several such outbursts, people stopped acknowledging her altogether. Watching this unfold, I smiled. My previous life had been far luckier than hers. Before Henry and Susan's first act of abuse, classmates had warned me about those mysterious disappearances of orphanage children. I'd taken precautions, making myself unforgettable through constant visibility, strategically positioning others to intervene. But unlike Lynn, I never exploited my adoptive status. Instead, I spent Henry's hush money spoiling my classmates, buying loyalty through genuine friendship. Those bonds became my lifeline. The abuse continued, but never escalated fatally. My silence kept them from forging medical excuses, preserving my safety net until graduation day. I escaped with prestigious college acceptance letters and scars hidden beneath my clothes. Returning to the orphanage for closure, I found Lynn had burned my new beginning to ashes. Now stripped of social currency as the Johnson heir, she's become that peacock preening with borrowed feathers, scratching faces with her gaudy displays. No one cares about her bruises anymore, they're too busy laughing behind her back. Except those leeches still hoping to siphon value from her crumbling facade. As Henry and Susan grow bolder, classmates whisper about Lynn's deterioration. Chemical blush can't mask her hollow eyes anymore. The walking corpse reeking of prescription drugs repels everyone. She stopped leaving home until our graduation banquet. There she stood, wearing that rictus grin. Whatever fresh hell they devised, it surpassed even my darkest imaginings. She cornered me, giggling like broken clockwork. "Yvonne," she rasped, "you're a reborn too, aren't you? You recommended me knowing Susan's a monster. You orchestrated my torture. You ruined my life. Yvonne, I'll haunt you beyond the grave." Too late. The moment she climbed into that luxury car, her fate was sealed. I smiled. How is this my doing? Lynn? Last life. You killed me over adoption papers. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? Why aren't you grateful? Her drug-flushed face paled to corpse white as she hissed, "I'll destroy you again. Yvonne! However many lifetimes it takes." When she lunged, I easily sidestepped her skeletal frame. "Try," I whispered to her, retreating back. The pills rattled in her pocket as she stumbled away. Let her plot her pathetic revenge. This time, the fire she starts will consume no one but herself. That was probably impossible. After all, I had just stuffed a whistleblower letter into Lynn's backpack. That night, a shocking arson incident occurred in City A. The gas canister at Susan's home exploded, and neither she nor her husband Henry survived. Only Lynn managed to survive by jumping into the garden pond in time. I knew without a doubt. To ensure their secrets stayed hidden, Henry and Susan would search Lynn's belongings the moment she returned home each day. The incriminating documents detailing their company's illegal activities would drive them into a frenzy. Cornered and desperate, Lynn must have taken the risk of igniting the gas canister. Henry and Susan, who had never faced defiance before, were caught off guard and perished in the blast. When the police took Lynn to the hospital, they found not only burns and cuts from the explosion but also numerous scars from whippings and abuse. She wept openly before the media. They were monsters from the day they adopted me. They stabbed me with needles, electrocuted me, and performed all sorts of surgeries. My whole body is scarred, I nearly died. They forced me to stay silent, forged psychiatric reports, and made everyone doubt me. If that gas canister hadn't exploded, I don't know how much longer I could have endured. Her performance was truly masterful, bloodshot eyes, trembling voice, the picture of vulnerability. No wonder I'd foolishly devoted myself to helping her in my past life. That savior complex really was a lethal flaw. Overnight, Lynn became infamous. The entire city pitied her. But what did she have to mourn? This was precisely her goal. As the sole adult heir to the Johnson family fortune, she effortlessly inherited everything. Her smugness practically radiated when she hissed at me, "Just wait, I'll destroy you." I didn't flinch. On the day she was to claim her inheritance, I submitted detailed evidence of the Johnsons' crimes to the police. In my previous life, I'd risked everything to document their atrocities, hoping to protect myself. Though most physical proof was gone now, I remembered every dirty secret. My airtight report gave investigators the perfect starting point. Soon, the couple's history of torture and murder surfaced. Victims' families redirected their fury toward Lynn. A mob nearly beat her to death before officers intervened. The Johnson group collapsed under exposed crimes, bribery, tax evasion, illegal operations, and mafia ties. Lynn's imagined empire evaporated like smoke. Before she could rage herself into cardiac arrest, authorities charged her with arson. The court ruled itself defense under duress, releasing her after brief detention. But her gilded life had crumbled. Homeless and reviled, she now faced open hostility from former sycophants. "Look who's crawling in the gutter now. Trash stays trash, even-handed opportunity. Careful. She's a murderer. Why worry? She's just a clown." The relentless humiliation broke her. Watching those who once groveled now trample her, Lynn snapped. She attacked strangers, clawing and biting at anything that moved. At first, they were scared. But soon, everyone noticed Lynn's frail condition. She started gasping for breath within moments. Someone kicked her from behind, and she collapsed to the ground with a muffled groan. Several people began kicking and punching her, with one even straddling her to slap her face. By the end, she lay half dead, forced to live under a riverside bridge among homeless vagrants. Rumors spread that she genuinely lost her sanity over time. Multiple reports claimed she'd been arrested repeatedly for petty theft. Most wrote her off, saying she'd never cross paths with us again. Yet my vigilance grew. I knew her too well. Desperation erased all reason. True to form, 6 months later, she charged into the orphanage screaming, "Yvonne! How dare the wealthiest family adopt you? Why won't you surrender your good fortune to me?" She torched the building, shrieking, "If I could burn you once, I'll burn you again. Die." Fate intervened. Not only was I absent, but the entire orphanage had coincidentally left for a park outing. Trapped by her own flames, she perished alongside the structure. The tragedy drew widespread attention. Donations poured in, funding a new orphanage with better facilities than before. I dedicated myself to keeping it visible in the public eye, determined every child there would know warmth and security, the fulfilled life we all deserved. These years brought me deep familial love. Though not extravagantly wealthy, I grew up bathed in sunlight. I entered Tsinghua University as Ethan's junior, mirroring his previous path. He built a startup after graduation. After 3 grueling years, his company went public. My family's unwavering care remains constant. This ordinary, cherished existence is everything I ever wanted.